And the floor is sparkling.
Yeah, what even is this episode?
No person with a single mop could have cleaned this well.
Even 2 mops would not have been enough.
4 mops? No human could carry 4 mops at the same time. This is the intro song to the podcast King of the What Now. Join us as we go on a journey, going to talk about pirates, battle and adventure. We think we're pretty funny, we hope you will too. Luffy, he's gotta be the king of something. We weren't really listening, sorry about that. Hopefully he'll achieve his dreams, yeah. Hello, fellow Grand Line Adventurers. Welcome to episode 23 of King of the What Now, a podcast where we talk about anime. I'm Joel. Wait, we don't just talk about anime, we talk about One Piece anime. Apparently, my brain is still stupid.
The anime One Piece. Not anime in One Piece, but...
That's true. I don't know if we've ever seen them watching TV or anything in their downtime between arcs.
I meant more like paper mache made out of anime.
Oh.
Or I guess to be made out of manga. I'm okay.
Okay, we're getting sidetracked. I'm Joel. I was separated from my crew, but I've made my flashy, victorious return to the crew, and I'm on a mission now to hunt down my arch nemesis, who is
Curtis, who's shopping.
Very good.
Town.
And it's very riveting stuff.
Yes.
And joining us today, we have a very special person who is joining us from Marine Headquarters. Would you like to say hello?
Hello.
Would you like to... This is Catherine, and she's going to be joining us for these episodes. She's joined us a couple of times before. She's in some of our cold opens and some of our bonus stuff that you can get if you're a Patreon supporter. And she's joining us today because she has certain characters from the show that are her favorites, and one of them may or may not have appeared. But before we can get into that, Curtis has to give us the summary.
Okay, so, first 2 episodes don't really matter, but I'm going to give it to you anyways. So we start off with Lil Buggy's Adventure, the spin-off series that only lasted 2 episodes. So Buggy is on an island, still missing most of his body. So he's a little tiny guy. He makes a raft, gets off, goes to a island, gets almost eaten by a bird, gets off that island, gets on a new island, meets Gaimon. They have a little touching moment. He leaves and meets an unknown woman who we have chosen to call Sara Ham.
It's a very complicated process how we arrived there. I wanted to call her Sarah. Curtis wanted to give her a name that was a pun off of tall, dark, and handsome. As he was explaining this, he accidentally said hamsome because we don't know how to talk with our mouths. And so we eventually combined those two into Sara Hamsome.
Would someone who is hamsome just be full of ham?
That's what I was kind of thinking as well, yes.
It's a very distinct possibility. We don't know much about her yet.
Also, I may have tuned out for like a second there. Did you say that she was very pretty? Because they make a point of saying that every time she's on camera. Who's that extremely pretty lady?
Yeah, I did not say that, but yes.
Okay.
Continuing. So then the second episode that doesn't matter, we see Buggy's crew. They have a little memorial service for Buggy, who they think is dead.
I wanted to call it a seance. That's not the right word.
I almost did the same thing.
They were going to bring him back.
Maybe we should have a seance for Buggy. Speak to us, clown man!
Farts!
Flashy.
Now, one thing that I will interject here really quickly is that they have the other parts of Buggy's body, the torso and like most of the arm and most of the legs. They got away from, I think that was, no, that's not. Anyways, they got away with those body parts.
Yes. Oh, I forgot about that. That's important. Anyways, they have the little memorial service. Then a bunch of them fight to become the new captain. Doesn't matter because they get captured by cannibals who try to eat them. Buggy shows up, recollects his body parts, and saves the day because apparently his crew is useless, but he can take out a whole tribe of cannibals by himself.
I will really quickly say, when they were having their little civil war to figure out who would be captain in Buggy's absence, it was Kabaji the acrobat and Moji the beast tamer. They fought each other so hard that they were passed out by the time the cannibal showed up. So it was those 3 basically saving the day, with Richie, who's incompetent without Moji, but apparently very good at fighting with his beast tamer.
Yeah, that's fair. Then they take off and they're gonna go find Luffy because Buggy has beef with him.
And so does the Sarah Hammond character. Hamsome, sorry. used a real last name instead of her actual...
We just call her Sara Ham. I feel like it's easy.
There we go.
Hammond is the guy in Jurassic Park.
Yes, that is true.
It's also a general from Stargate. That's not important right now.
But would you rather have Luffy in thrilling space battles, or would you have Luffy on a velociraptor? I think that has great potential right there.
I think he would choose the T-Rex because it's the biggest one, but yeah, Luffy on a dinosaur is 10 out of 10. Very good.
Okay.
I think dinosaur, but on an alien planet, fighting aliens.
A cyborg dinosaur with like a biomechanical eye that can shoot lasers and do X-ray and infrared vision, and a cannon for an arm.
This is the sort of bonus content that you can have access to if you subscribe at Patreon. It's just us making up fanfic.
There were
apparently.
a lot of like pauses in there. If you subscribe.
I was
we were
trying
talking
really
about-
hard not to use the word like.
We were talking about Star Trek and Stargate. Wow, there's a lot of things with star in the name of
Yeah,
them.
that's kind of sci-fi stuff.
But it basically, Curtis made the connection to Star Trek, where William Shatner is famous for talking in a certain way. Okay, so we finished out all of the
Yes.
Buggy stuff, which was very riveting. That was the most entertaining content One Piece has ever churned out.
Anyways, yes, it was very not exciting. Then we get the Straw Hat crew. They get to Logue Town, which is the place where Gold Roger was killed.
And also born.
Oh,
Yes.
oh, that's why it's the beginning and the end, because there's the beginning and the end of Gold Roger.
Uh-huh.
I got it now. Okay, that's something that Luffy calls it. They get there. Luffy fanboys because he's all excited because it's Gold Roger's town, and he goes wandering through the town trying to find the place where they kill people, the execution platform.
And the way he says it, he's just so full of joy. Go on.
So he is going to the execution platform. He's wandering around. He briefly gets lost and ends up in a bar called the Gold Roger. And talks to an old man who tells him stories about Gold Roger. Then he leaves. He finally finds the execution platform. He's climbing it. Smoker, who is a new character that we just met.
A new foe appears.
Yes. Marine captain in the town. He,
Well, hang on. We brought in a very special guest who wants to talk about her favorite character. So how about we pass the mic over to Catherine and let her discuss what she thinks of Smoker as he currently appears in the series.
So no future Smoker.
Right, we can't talk about the
Business.
fact that he's actually three midgets standing on top of each other inside of a trench coat, despite the fact that you can clearly see his chest and his abs. That's actually a child.
A trench coat or a Marine HQ jacket?
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah. Okay, so Smoker shows up on screen, and first of all, he's just a perfect boy. He's sitting hotboxing in his room. He's got his cigars going, and he's stacking rocks.
Two cigars at the same time, because
Yes.
that's how... And his entire left upper arm and his breast pocket have, like, 15 more cigars in case he loses the two that are in his mouth
He
at
has
any
a
time.
steady supply of cigars, but he's not wearing the jacket when he first shows up. He's just sitting shirtless in his room, smoking and stacking rocks. And somebody bursts in and they go, "Hey, there's this new pirate who's gonna land here soon. He's got a 30 million bounty." And he looks at this man and he goes, "Why would you hurry me? You have to do battle at your own pace, wouldn't you say?" And this guy who's talking to him is very flustered, and Zoro's like, Smoker, they're both good boys. They're both stoic good boys, so it's hard. But Smoker is like, "So stop bothering me." And he gets up and he decides he's gonna go see about this pirate.
Can I interject really quick?
Do it.
He has another Marine who works closely with him named Tashigi, mentioned by name only, but you get the sense that these two go everywhere together. She's basically the second in command to his command post.
Yes.
Continue.
And we will get on to Tashigi later, because the next episode features her heavily. But Smoker decides he's going to go after Luffy, so he goes out into town, and there's these other pirates fighting, and he goes, "Well, one of them must be Straw Hat." And he beats them all up in a
Well, he
spectacular
doesn't know
fashion.
that Luffy is Straw Hat.
I know, I haven't gotten there yet.
Okay, but you just said one of them must be Straw Hat, but he doesn't know that Luffy has a Straw Hat. And they're not... Okay, I'm sorry.
That's Luffy's epitaph. Our listeners know that... Okay, anyway, so one of them must be Luffy. And he goes and he beats these pirates up in a spectacular fashion that we don't actually get to see. So at this part in the series, we don't know what Smoker's powers are. We just know he's fast and he's good at beating up pirates.
And it's hinted at that he has a devil fruit by someone talking to Nami. These scenes are interspersed with each other.
Right. And so he's beating up these pirates, and he's like, okay, none of those were Monkey D. Luffy. And a young boy in a straw hat approaches him, and he goes, where's the execution platform? And at this point, I'm going to stop talking about Smoker just to say, Luffy is weirdly intelligent, only sometimes. Smoker asks him, why do you want to find the execution platform? And he responds with, it's a personal quest.
Which actually is the second time he's run into enemies and answered a question in so indirect a fashion as to get away from getting punched. He did that in the Fishman Island, gosh darn it, in Kobayashi Village, Arlong Park.
But yeah, so they just completely phase right by each other. Smoker tells him, follow this smoke trail, it'll lead you to the execution platform. Luffy wanders off. I'll let Curtis get into Luffy's stuff in his summary. But one of the things about Smoker that's so good is that he seems like this really tough, awesome guy who's not going to take anything from anyone.
Hard edge, yes.
And then one of the first scenes that you really get to see, like, him interact with somebody else, is a little girl runs into him and bashes her ice cream into his pants. And she's all scared, and her dad is worried about what Smoker is gonna do.
He looks like he's going to kill her. The camera zooms on his face.
And he kind of squats down and he goes, my silly pants ate your ice cream. I'm sorry about that. And he gives her money to buy more ice cream, and it's so cute. So, I really love him. I have a soft spot for guys who are tough but good with, like, children and animals, and that's Smoker. He's a good boy.
Alright, so that takes care of the Smoker summary. Also, while you were talking, I realized we didn't technically reiterate which episodes we watched, which we normally do. I think you should be able to tell by now that we like covering about 4 episodes at a time, but the ones that we covered today are 46, 47, 48, 49. Mm-hmm. Okay, Logue Town, Luffy's looking for the execution platform, Smoker and Luffy are crossing paths but not really aware of it. Yeah, back to Curtis.
And I guess I should back up briefly. Before they meet the first time when Luffy's getting directions, and then they miss each other at the Gold Roger bar. Yes. So Luffy's there getting stories, and then when he leaves, Smoker shows up later and is talking with the guy who runs the bar, and they obviously know each other already. I will say we saw him pick up a bottle of booze using the smoke from his
his cigar.
Cigars. So that's his powers have something to do with the smoke.
Yeah, and it would seem weird that when he was showing Luffy how to get to the execution platform, the smoke would just happen to form the trail. So it's something related to that, but we haven't technically gotten the name of the fruit, and he hasn't explained how it works, because there's a lot of variation in devil fruits.
And it is... I have confirmed it is not the smoke fruit, the cigar fruit, the puff fruit,
or the tumor fruit. I think those are your top 4 that you came up with.
So anyways, so eventually they do meet up at the execution platform, and Smoker tells Luffy, if you want to go to the Grand Line to be King of the Pirates, because Luffy has now confessed that to him, you have to beat me first. No one can go to the Grand Line without beating me here in Logue Town.
Yep, this town used to have lots of pirates. Smoker showed up, no more pirates, and no one's ever been able to escape him. He has an impeccable record.
Yeah. And I find the phrasing interesting, because it implies less that... So obviously he wants to catch pirates, but he also sees himself as like a test. Like, it's almost implied like, if you can beat me, then yes, I will let you go, right? Sort of thing.
Interesting, I agree.
So that's... Oh, and then Luffy gets flung away because of hijinks. Mm-hmm. He lands somewhere, he takes a nap. That's more or less what happens with Luffy. At the end of the episode, he's running back to the execution platform again. At the end of the 4th episode we watched.
Where we currently are, as far as, he's running towards the execution platform. He's also been spotted by Buggy.
Yeah.
And so that will probably play into future episodes, I'm sure.
Yeah. So then... The only other crew member that I want to follow, because the other plot lines don't matter as much.
Usopp and Nami are shopping. Sanji's looking for food, but also ogling the beautiful ladies. He saw Sara Ham, but he can't find her. She seemed to disappear into the crowd. Now he's running around trying to, hit on her.
Yeah. So, Zoro's, he he's looking around trying to find swords and realizes, I don't have any money, I can't buy swords. Because he only has one sword, he needs 3 swords to fight with the 3-sword style. That's how math works. So...
Could you imagine a little, activity book that Luffy's filling out? Zoro only has 1 sword because of his battle with Dracula Mihawk, but he usually likes 3 swords. How many swords can he buy at 2? And on the next page, each sword roughly costs 75,000 berry. How many berries are you gonna need?
I could see Nami making that.
Sanji needs to buy at least 16 potatoes to feed the 5 crew members. We know that Zoro eats 3 potatoes. How many potatoes can you assume that Usopp eats?
Alright, so Zoro, he window shopping for swords, and says, I don't have enough money, I can't buy swords, and then he sees there's some woman about to get attacked by 2 swordsmen. He goes over to step in, and then she defends herself, because she is also a swordsman, but she is apparently clumsy, so she defends herself well, and then immediately falls over and loses her glasses. He goes to pick them up and give them to her, then he looks at her and realizes, oh my god, she looks just like Kuina.
Mm-hmm.
Breaks
Older,
the glasses
though.
Yeah. Breaks the glasses in his hand as he's thinking that. And he's like, oh, crap. I broke your glasses. So he's like, I gotta go work, do something to pay you back for the glasses. I don't have any money. So she turns out to be a Marine. She puts him to work mopping floors, which he does with the 3-mop technique.
That's the only way to get those, all of the surfaces clean.
Well, and he explicitly calls out, 3 is better than 1, even when mopping. So he's really pleased with himself and his ability to apply this technique to other things.
Does Zoro have, OCD or something, and he, 3 is the only number that can ward away the intrusive thoughts?
Oh, that's a good point. We could discuss that in a bonus episode. What neuroses do the Straw Hats have?
We're really going all in on the Patreon thing this episode. We could actually make that activity book, too, if we really wanted to. How I can connect the dots, and we could have secret messages. Okay, but, so he gets basically dragged to HQ. He doesn't know how to really handle this woman. She has very strong opinions, and he's a little... What's up with her face looking like the face of that other person?
Yeah. But he's mopping, and then 2 Marines realize, oh my god, it's Zoro! So he beats them up with the mops, and then leaves money on top of one of them and says, for your glasses, because apparently he did have some money.
Yes.
And, then he leaves, the lady, what's her name again?
Tashigi?
Tashigi.
Yes.
Yeah. So Tashigi finds the money, and then she's like, oh, he shouldn't have, whatever. But then leaves. They happen to find each other again at a sword store.
What are the chances?
Yeah. I'm not going to go into the details on the scene, but what ends up happening is he comes out of there with 2 swords for free because the owner ends up becoming very impressed with his swordsmanship, which he proves by throwing a sword in the air and then watching as it doesn't cut him because he's lucky.
So I get wanting to cut out some details because we're summarizing. I do think that this is kind of an important scene. So you find out that the one sword that Zoro has... Just so you know, I don't think they ever explicitly state this, but the only sword he still has left is the one from Kuina. The other 2 were just kind of no-name swords and it turns out Kuina's sword is some rare sword. If you're really, really into One Piece, you might know the names of them. I think it's the Owazamono and the Wazamono and something else. There's ranks to swords. There's basically really cool swords, really amazing swords, and this is the most incredible sword ever. And Zoro's sword is that lowest tier, but that's still better than any unnamed sword out in the world. And he basically finds out that that's really cool. He finds another sword from this guy that's in the 50...
Yeah, it's in the discount bin.
It's in the discount 50,000 berry bin, which is not a lot of money in this universe. And as soon as he touches it, Zoro goes... This sword's cursed, isn't it? And the guy goes, how did you know? Zoro goes, just good Zoro senses. And he basically finds out that anyone who holds this sword will be killed horrifically. I think by the sword, but it might just be killed in general. It's a curse. And Zoro goes, well, I'm going to test my luck against the sword's curse. Throws in the air, holds out his arm, and the fact that it doesn't chop off his arm proves that his luck is stronger, which converts the shop owner into a fanboy. So really, we just have 2 episodes of fanboys, because we find out that Smoker was at Roger's execution. Roger Roger's execution. I keep wanting to call him Rogers. But he was at Roger's execution, and he seemed to be kind of affected in some way by Roger's demeanor. And Luffy's a Roger fanboy, and now we have the shop owner who's a Zoro fanboy. And Tashigi is a sword fangirl. So there's just all sorts of fans everywhere in these episodes.
Can I go back to Zoro's luck really quick?
Sure.
So luck is kind of an ongoing theme in One Piece, but I feel like it comes up a lot in these episodes in particular. Luffy is lucky, and that Smoker...
Yes.
First Zoro, then Sanji. But Smoker doesn't recognize him. And then he's lucky again because Buggy doesn't immediately recognize him when he runs into Buggy. He accidentally wanders into the Gold Rogers bar where one person who can tell him about Gold Rogers is. And then Smoker, for his part, when he first runs into Tashigi, she's not wearing her glasses, so she doesn't recognize him. And so there's a whole string of luck there where he doesn't get arrested by this Marine that he's run into because she doesn't know who he is.
I think she also is just a little, like, not
Her ability to notice things varies incredibly scene to scene. She immediately recognizes Zoro's sword, but can't put it together that he's a guy who's looking for 3 swords, who has green hair, which it doesn't seem common in this universe. Also, I don't think you were watching with us when we're on the Buggy episodes, but Gaimon specifically points out that Buggy being saved by Sara Ham is also, quote-unquote, pirate's luck. So yes, luck ties into the overall story, and I wanted to touch on that a little later. Let's do that, but thank you for pointing that out. That was a good point. So now Zoro's got the 2 swords for free. Is that the end of the episodes?
Yeah, because the end of the episodes, let me just figure out where all the crew members are. So Zoro has all 3 swords now.
Yes.
He's left the store. Luffy is running back to the execution platform. Smoker is just kind of hanging out because he's like, well, Luffy will come find me eventually. Buggy saw Luffy at the end running towards the execution platform, so he's going to follow him, I'm guessing. Sanji is wandering around looking for Sara Ham because he saw her once.
His plot hasn't really started. He's not doing anything of importance, really.
Yeah. Nami was shopping for clothes and briefly saw Zoro in the Marine headquarters and was like, I don't care what's going on here, and left.
You didn't see anything.
And last we saw Usopp, I think he bought a bunch of junk at the shop where the guy was clearly swindling him.
Yes. So he found a place and some guy was like, oh, this is Gold Rogers' gun, and he was clearly making a face at us, the audience member, so we know he's up to lies, but Usopp didn't seem capable of seeing through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good summary of everything that has happened. I can't think of anything that was really that important to the summaries, so I think we're good to move on to something else. Mm-hmm. Alright, so we've got one of our patented... You turned in the patent forms for these, right?
Oh, crap.
Okay, well, we're gonna say patent pending on the advertisements for King of the What Now. Alright, so, Curtis, have you been noticing a slight increase in snake activity lately?
Yeah, you know what? I have. They're everywhere. They're in my hair when I wake up. They're on the floor.
You know, Catherine the other day, she found one in the cat litter box, and we're not sure if that means that a cat ate the snake, or if the snake was just hanging out there, if it was in the litter itself, or we don't know. But yeah, there seems to be a strange uptick in snakes, so we've noticed this trend, not we, our sponsor have noticed this trend, and they've reached out to us with a free can of Snake Away. It's a special type of spray that you can either spray on yourself, like bug spray that keeps them from coming near you, or you can spray it in those trouble areas around the house, you know, your garden, the cat litter box apparently is the example I went with, any place where you might find snakes.
And it's amazing, Joel. You know, I use it. I've sprayed my entire apartment once a day, and I haven't seen like more than 1 or 2 snakes for a while.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Because at one point it was like 7 or 8 snakes. You were like, "You want to come over?" And I was like, "This is too many snakes, man."
I was knee deep in snakes at one point. It was very difficult. I heard my cat meowing, and I couldn't see it anywhere.
Right. So Snake Away is a great product. It also doesn't smell too terrible. I think they could maybe work on that a little bit. That would be my one complaint in my own personal use. But other than that, yeah, absolutely. Go to your local store and buy some Snake Away and, spray your kids with it, spray your playing fields, and keep our country safe from snakes.
Bonus, it's antimicrobial.
Snake Away may cause cancer.
Okay, so that was our advertisement for this week, and I think that we're really going to see some of that sweet ad revenue money coming in from the Snake Away company.
I hope so.
Okay.
Snake Co. A better place to go. Nope, that's car toys.
Snake Co. Trying to get rid of snakes one sneaky plan at a time.
Perfect. Can I ask Curtis one of the questions for this episode?
Yeah, go ahead.
Curtis, did anything in this episode feel like filler?
Yeah, so Jewel and I were discussing this.
Okay, don't say it like that, because that'll make it sound like I'm giving you insider information. But you turned to me after one of the Buggy episodes and said, "Is this filler?" And I shrugged and went, "I don't know, Curtis."
He specifically said, "We should talk about that in the episode, Curtis." And it's like, oh, okay.
So you seem to think that...
Yes, the first two episodes could have just easily just been explained away in the background. The only reason I'm thinking now that it's probably not filthy filler.
Filther. That could be our ad for next week. Do you need to be more dirty? Try filther.
We're getting off track, so the only reason you think that it's not filler.
Yes, is because Sara Ham.
Okay.
Because it explains why Buggy is with Sara Ham. So, if it had just been Buggy reappearing later with his body parts, you could have explained that away with, maybe a quick flashback, right? But him showing up with another character... Him showing up with another character that we have not met yet, who appears to be important, because she's specifically looking for Luffy in that, makes me think, okay, you can't just explain that away with, this happened off screen, right? So it's probably not filler. At least not all of it.
Okay.
Or not that portion of it. There might be parts of it that were.
Right. Well, and has Joel explained to you that in the manga, sometimes the first page of each chapter tells, a side story that's not necessarily immediately relevant?
No.
Yeah, so in the One Piece manga, there's the cover page that just says One Piece on it, and sometimes it'll just show a picture of them at basically what's Disneyland riding the different rides. Usopp will be scared on the roller coaster, but Luffy will be enjoying it, that sort of thing. They're all in character. Yeah. But sometimes it'll show characters that are not the Straw Hat crew going on their own kind of adventures. So Buggy's adventure is canon. It happened the way it was shown, but it was not its own chapter the way it was its own episode. It took place over a series of single panel comics, and there's never any dialogue in these. If people need to communicate, it'll show a speech bubble, and it'll show something like, if Buggy's looking for Luffy, it'll show the Straw Hat Jolly Roger. It won't say Luffy in the speech bubble. So not filler, but definitely padding.
Yeah. Okay. No, I can see the issue when you're trying to make the anime, because you can see, alright, so this information from these panels ends up being mildly important, at least the portions with Sara Ham.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to put that in there somehow. So we're going to need to make at least an episode out of this. But we have to have a plot and a storyline in the episode, so they just pull a bunch of stuff that's kind of, not important from the manga to fill it out.
Yes.
So I guess it's not technically filler, but it's kind of filler.
It feels very fillery, because Buggy's kind of entertaining a bit, but having an entire episode dedicated to him, it's like a lot of people have said that Jack Sparrow from the Pirates movies is pretty entertaining, but then when 4 came out and you didn't have Will Turner and it was mostly the Jack Sparrow show, a lot of people were like, this is too much of the stuff that we thought that we wanted.
Yeah.
So what we have is a Buggy tummy ache from eating too much Buggy-flavored ice cream. But it does feature the return of the Buggy Balls at the very end of the Cannibal episode, so that's, we like saying the word Buggy Balls, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's good for podcasting.
We also get to ask the question now, how many mini Buggies do you think people could fight? Because he had a couple of fights in there when he was just, I don't know what you would call them, mini Buggy is what we're going with, or Lil Buggy.
Lil Buggy.
Okay.
Do we want to call it like a milli buggy? Like he could take 10 milli buggies.
See, I don't like milli because that literally means like 1/1000.
So what's the prefix for 1/10 of?
Deci, I think.
Is it it is deci.
Yes.
So it's a deci buggy.
A deci buggy.
Deci buggy.
All right, but at this point we are at the end of the arc, so now's not the appropriate time to be asking those questions. So,
Yes.
But we can keep that in the back of our mind. If we meet someone who we think can't beat Buggy outright, we can say a Deci Buggy, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we've been talking off mic a little bit, and it seems like we're sort of moving away from kind of asking these questions in a structured way and just kind of more talking about our thoughts. But the filler one's very important. We'll discuss any new openings when they come out. I think we're getting another one pretty soon.
Yeah.
And yeah, what was your overall impression of these episodes in terms of whether you liked them or not? What are your highlights, I guess is what I'm more asking.
Didn't really enjoy the Buggy episodes. They were okay. No, not exciting, but they were kind of funny.
I mean, the mental image of that chicken with the giant fork and knife trying to eat Buggy, that was pretty good. And when he tried to attack, like, the little baby chick, and that was my favorite part of the Buggy episodes, just because the chickens were well drawn and very cute.
Mm-hmm. The first two Logue Town episodes were kind of hit or miss for me.
Yeah.
There were some parts that were boring and some parts that were entertaining. Mostly I enjoyed the Zoro and the Luffy parts, which are really the more important parts.
Yep.
And even then it was kind of hit or miss, so...
Sure. I would say that, to me, rewatching these episodes, it's very apparent that they're essentially... I wouldn't say... Powder keg isn't the exact right word, but that's the phrase that people use, but they're basically sitting on top of something that's about to go off. This is setting up all of these, like, connections, and Zoro and this girl kind of know each other, and Sanji and Sara Ham, and Buggy and Luffy and Smoker. It's coming to a head, but we haven't gotten to the part where that's happening yet, and I think that's going to be the exciting part. This stuff is more important exposition, but not exciting necessarily. Yeah. Not as many jokes either. We also find out in these episodes, canonically, Luffy does not drink. I'm not sure if that's always true. I don't know if later in the series, because, I mean, spoiler alert, there are good times and there are bad times in the show, and during the good times they usually have, like, parties and stuff. And I'm pretty sure I've seen him, like, sharing cups with other people. But in this episode, he specifically states, I don't drink alcohol, so he has a nice glass of milk.
He's gonna have strong teeth, just like Arlong.
That's I was going to make the joke. He wants to try to emulate Arlong in that. Okay.
I want to follow up the kind of what did you think of this episode question. So Smoker is really one of the first Marines we've been introduced to that isn't a giant butt face. So what do you think of Smoker, and how do you think he fits into kind of the Marine culture in general?
Yeah, he's a little confusing to me. Like I said earlier, there's an implication that he sees himself as a test for pirates. Not that he's, trying to avoid his duties of stopping pirates, because clearly he's capturing pirates in that. But I feel like there's kind of a larger honor thing where if you can pass me, then you are worthy of being a pirate on the Grand Line sort of thing, which doesn't seem to fit the Marine ethos overall. And I mean, he hasn't talked much about it. Just kind of the way he talked to Luffy about it was kind of...
Yeah, and it's also, I think, because he's set up as the antagonist to Luffy, and this is a battle shonen anime, so you get a lot of, you can't pass here until you beat me. I think he's confident enough that no one can beat him, that he's comfortable declaring that, you know? He's not really thinking about what would happen. Alright, do you see Zoro facing Tashigi in battle at his full power based off the fact that she looks like Kuina? Or do you think there'll be complications?
There'll probably be complications. Because they already had, when he went to give her the glasses, like, it superimposed Kuina over...
Yep.
Over,
Tashigi. Yes. And he did that when he was mopping, too. He briefly looked in on their sword training, and his brain did the flash thing again, where he saw Kuina instead of Tashigi. Yeah. Now you got me turned around. But yeah, we know for sure, we don't know for sure, but can you imagine whether or not Sanji would be willing to fight a woman opponent, right? We know that Nami probably is fine attacking men or women because she herself is a woman, and we know that Luffy launched Alvida in that very first episode, so he doesn't have a problem fighting women. But if you're trying to draw your characters, not draw, but show your characters as being honorable and good people, there are certain lines you have to be careful about crossing, and I think a man attacking a woman, depending on the situation, especially since she's kind of so clumsy, it's an interesting relationship.
Though now that I think about it, Zoro didn't have any issues when they were training together.
Oh, that's true.
So I don't know if, maybe it might trip him up a little bit, just the resemblance, but it might not hinder him.
Maybe it'll actually encourage him to hit her really hard, because this is for all those 3,000 battles I lost as a kid, and she's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's circle back to that pirate luck thing, or Luffy having a lot of luck, or Zoro having a lot of luck. Do you have any kind of thoughts on how you'd like to see that play out? Do you think that up to this point, Luffy and the crew have been exceptionally lucky?
I think they've been mostly lucky. I mean, they kind of stumble through stuff, but still find a way to get out on top.
Seem to be okay?
Yeah, so I'd say that's a type of luck.
Yeah. Well, and things like Zoro drags Luffy in the cage during the Buggy arc all the way over to a store and they meet a dog. And that happens to be where Richie and his lion go, and the lion's the only thing strong enough to break the cage. It's just, there are a lot of interesting connections, and they keep running into the one and only person who can give them exposition on Gold Roger, or in this island, Usopp happens to run into Nami's sister Nojiko. There's a lot of that in there, and you can write that off to kind of the plot convenience of Oda is literally writing a story so he can decide who meets who, but the fact that it happens so frequently, I think we're going to see more of this as time goes on. Mm-hmm. All right. Any other thoughts from these episodes that you would like to share at this time?
No, I think we covered everything.
Okay. I will say that we're coming up to the end of this arc. We will finish it in the next podcast episode, which is great. If you're watching...
Arc.
What?
That's a short
It's a pretty arc. It's only 8 episodes, and Arlong Park was 12, so it's...
Wait, it's...
Or 6 episodes, sorry. I thought about I lumped Lil Buggy in with all the rest of it. They basically just show up to say, all right, here's where the real adventure begins. You thought Arlong Park was began? No, it's right here, dog. And then in another 20 podcast episodes, I'll tell you that we have truly begun the One Piece adventure with the defeat of the sentient banana king.
Charlie.
No, that's a good reference. Everyone watch Charlie the Unicorn, but at the same time...
I'm hoping most of our fans have already seen it.
Right, it's on the internet. I want you to tell me how you envision the next couple of episodes playing out. There's obviously been a lot of setup. We just discussed Zoro and Kuina, but do you think Luffy will easily beat Smoker? Do you think it'll be a tough battle? Do you think, how will it all play out?
I think it'll be a hard battle. It's hard for me to judge because we haven't established what Smoker's abilities are yet. Like, we kind of got glimpses of him using it.
Okay.
But I don't know what the consequences of those are yet.
What do you think he can do?
I mean, he can move smoke around, and apparently he can pick up objects with it, but so it's not just a haze. It can also, become solid.
Maybe that's why he has 2 cigarettes. Maybe he can only control smoke, not create it. So if he's smoking 2, he has enough to work with. He tried punching someone with 1 cigar, and he was like, that's nothing. Mm-hmm. We do know that he has a reputation for never being beaten, so that does establish him to some degree as being a pretty good pirate, pretty good marine, I'm sorry.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
So in no, not the Funimation, the 4Kids version.
Yes.
They replaced Sanji's cigarette
with a lollipop.
What did they do for Smoker? Did they get that far?
They got rid of the cigar, but he breathed smoke. Like a dragon. Like, instead of breathing fire, it was just smoke that was constantly coming out of his mouth.
Okay.
That's obscene.
That's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, that's actually better, right? Anyway, so we'll see that. How do you think Buggy will play into this?
Oh, Buggy's just gonna get in the way. He's gonna gum up the works.
All right.
Buggy's gonna get in the way. Summary of anything Buggy shows up in.
All right. I'm not saying this is what will happen. I'm not saying that this isn't what will happen. But if I had to guess from where I am right now, I would assume Smoker is a foe that Luffy has a hard time beating, but Buggy will interfere in a way such that he tries to capture Luffy and accidentally helps defeat Smoker. So they have a pirate alliance built purely on their hatred for each other, and they both manage to escape.
That would be pretty lucky for Luffy, huh?
Oh, I do wanna circle back. I kind of forgot about this because it was at the beginning of the episodes we watched. They show a couple of scenes on the Straw Hat ship, the Going Merry, while Buggy's adventure is going on.
Yeah.
And Nami asks Luffy, do you think Buggy is dead after you launched him out of the city, town, whatever you want to call it? And he goes, I don't know, he's probably at the bottom of the ocean, so he's probably dead. I know for a fact that Oda's gone on record saying that Luffy doesn't believe in killing his opponents, so maybe he doesn't have that philosophy yet, but his carefree, maybe I killed a guy, you definitely should commit to killing a guy or not killing a guy, Luffy. You can't just wishy-washy it.
Maybe he will not intentionally kill a guy, but he'll leave it up to fate.
He'll end a battle and see whether or not the person will be killed. And Zoro in that scene also points out, I don't know, pirates are I'm not sure I remember the word exactly, but they keep coming back. They survive, they endure. I don't know what Buggy could have done as he was getting punched out over the sea that could have potentially... Do you think he flapped his little mini Buggy arms to try to carry himself the extra 5 feet to the island?
Could you... I mean, that is pretty lucky, now that you think about it. The fact that he hit an island.
Yep.
Because I could see if he was somebody who could swim, landing close to an island,
and
at least that increases the chances, but he can't swim.
Yep.
So he has to hit the land perfectly, otherwise he will drown.
Right, well, and Buggy's immune to cutting damage, but not blunt force, so shouldn't landing on the island have killed him?
Yes, I think that definitely should have killed him. There was something else. Oh, they were going to eat him. The bird was going to chew him up, and he only survived because he tastes bad. The giant bird literally spits him out, and Buggy goes, "Do I taste that bad?" But wouldn't chewing be chopping damage? I think it would. Well, it depends on how the teeth are, because if they're flat teeth like a herbivore's, those are for gnashing. That's blunt force. But if it's sharp like a carnivore, that's for
tearing.
Yeah, and did the birds evolve to use the fork and knife? I have so many questions,
Do the birds have teeth?
Oh! That's a good question.
So maybe it was blunt force. Maybe it was maybe
a bird
he
would just swallow whole.
Oh. I think it showed it chewing, so I think we're taking our human knowledge and kind of projecting it onto this bird creature. Alright, so we're going to be finishing out the Logue Town arc next episode of the podcast. If you need to know the actual episode numbers to watch, that's 50, 51, 52, and 53. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Good night.
Official outro goes here. Breaking news! We just received breaking news from Catherine, the special co-host of this episode, that we didn't ask her if she had any thoughts. She'd been so quiet, she was as quiet as a mouse, I forgot that she was even there. Catherine, this is our lead reporter, Joel, from King of the What Now. Do you have any final thoughts?
I do have some final thoughts. So I think that Logue Town is an important arc because at this point we've been introduced to a significant recurring character. Spoilers. And I feel like up until this point, none of the bad guys or antagonists that they've fought have really been significant. We're probably not going to see the Black Cat Pirates again. We're probably not going to... Well, I can't say we're not going to see Buggy again, because here he is. But...
I was actually going to ask, which character is the recurring character? Is it Buggy or is it Smoker?
Yeah, but I think that this is the point where the story really starts, and, Luffy and his actions start to have long-term consequences, rather than just short-term consequences within the arc. So the Logue Town arc is just really important for that alone.
And this is the first time we've ever seen Roger on camera. We've heard his voice at the beginning of every episode with King of the Pirates left everything that he had in one place. This is the only time we've seen him so far. Might not be the last, but you finally get a sense of his character. Mm-hmm. You also get something that may or may not be a recurring theme. The fact that I brought it up probably proves that it's going to come back later. But when Luffy's talking about how he wants to go to the sea in the Gold Roger bar, the guy sees Roger in Luffy, and that's kind of interesting. We, the viewers, expect Luffy to become the next king like Roger, but the fact that some people who have met both people think that they're similar might or might not be significant. What's the over-under that Roger is secretly Luffy's father?
I don't know about father, but maybe related.
Okay.
Or at least maybe like a spiritual father.
Do you think he's like that weird uncle that nobody invites to the Christmas party, but he still comes and he gets super drunk and has a great time, but none of the like very strict and stern adults have a good time?
He gives treasure to the kids, and the kids love him for it because it's all shiny and whatever, but the parents are looking on disapprovingly, knowing that he killed a guy to get that treasure. He stole it from someone else. They're wanted by the Marines because of this weird uncle.
Yeah, no, that's probably it.
Okay.
He's the weird uncle. I would also like to say, I noticed that as he was walking to the gallows, right? Smoker makes a point like, oh no, was it Smoker or the old guy?
I don't know what you're talking about.
He said that he was treating it like a coronation instead
That was Smoker.
That was, yeah. It was Smoker talking to the guy at the bar, though, so that's why it was hard to remember.
But in his memory, it has him smiling.
Yep.
It reminded me of All Might. That's unrelated to this podcast or this anime.
It could also remind you of Kelsier. There are lots of like smile no matter the circumstances characters.
At the same time, they're both really popular anime/manga that are in the same publication.
Fair.
Mm-hmm. So I just saw that and I was like, hey.
Imagine All Might and Gold Roger having a drink together.
This would be good bonus content.
And that's it for the episode, folks.
So you're out of final thoughts?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Joel from the podcast. Back to Joel from the podcast, back in the studio. Yes, hello. I'm seeing that we have a 100% chance of pirates in tomorrow's weather forecast. You said wait?
Oh, you can cut this part out. Wait, Jack, do you have any final thoughts?
Jack is licking himself. All right. All right. I do want to say... There's another question that I mean to ask. I don't think I'm ready to give up.
The never-ending podcast episode. We've ended it 3 times now.
All right.
It keeps going.
You need to give me an answer. I want a serious answer, but if you can't think of a serious answer, you're allowed to fall back to your regular smartassery and sarcasm.
You can also phone a friend. I'm here.
But you need to give this a serious thought for a second, okay? What aspects of these 4 episodes would you like to see expanded on in a future episode? What piece of this do you think should be foreshadowing? Or setup, I guess.
Give me a second. You can
Sara Ham's identity as a secret agent of the Marines.
Doot, 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 doot.
Wait, someone draw me a comic of Buggy being on Let's Make a Deal, and he's asked if he wants to trade in the if he wants to keep the $5,000 or see what's behind door number 1, and he knows that he's going to get the treasure, and he takes that chance, and they open it, and it's like a trash bin, and Buggy is just heartbroken because he lost it wouldn't be $5,000, it'd be 500,000 berry.
Okay, Curtis, are you ready?
Yeah. A couple things I'd like to see expanded on.
I said 1.
I see 1?
I rule this podcast with an iron fist.
No, it doesn't have to be 1. Tell us your...
But tell us the biggest one, I guess, first.
Well, now I gotta rank them. I think... I mean, it's really the Gold Roger stuff. So specifically with the Gold Roger bar, I think there was a lot of kind of like, here's how it used to be in the old days sort of thing. Like expanding on the old days.
Sure.
So before Gold Roger was executed, I'd be curious to learn more about that, and I think we're going to get more about that.
Okay, before you go on to your next thing on your list, this is spoilers but not spoilers. Plug your ears if you're really sensitive to it, but I'm going to be speaking very vaguely. The current chapters in One Piece, the last, I'd say 10 weeks or so, have started to give us a much better picture of what it might have been like in Rogers' time, and I love every minute of it. It's great.
That's cool.
Okay, more stuff.
You made the comment about Sara Ham. I think that is going to be obviously important.
Secret agent. I'm calling it now.
And then also just like we mentioned, people seeing Gold Roger and Luffy.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right, fantastic. This is actually the end of the episode, and if anyone has any final thoughts, save it for next episode. Official outro goes here. So ends the next leg of the King of the What Now adventure. We're sad to see you go, but we'll be here next week. If you crave some social interaction with us in the meantime, you can find us on all sorts of different media. We have Gmail, Patreon, and Tumblr. All of those are King of the What Pod. King of the What Pod at gmail.com, patreon.com/King of the What Pod, kingofthewhatpod.tumblr.com. Our Twitter handlers are a little bit different. You can reach me at KOTWN_pod.
And you can contact me, Curtis, at Pirate Co-host. Also, please take a moment to rate and review our podcast on whatever platform you're using to listen. Not only will this help others find the podcast, but your constructive feedback will help us improve the show as we go.
Thanks so much for giving us a listen. Until next time, follow your dreams and protect your treasure.
Remember, it doesn't need to be literal treasure.